Hello there, everyone. It's Phil here from the OK Football Show, coming to you with a slightly different show this week, and it's about the connotations of the relegation battle. Currently, there are 5 teams that can still go down from the Championship in this season: Stoke City, Derby County, Preston North End, Luton Town, and Hull. So there's some big old games at the weekend, and there are a number of different connotations. So if you're anything like me and your head is still in a bit of a scramble after what went on over the course of the weekend, and you're still unsure about what to think can be safe for your particular team, then take a listen. We won't be too long. It'll be about an 8 or so minute video. I'll be looking at 4 massive fixtures across the course of the weekend: Bristol City versus Preston North End, Derby County versus Stoke City, Portsmouth versus Hull, and West Bromwich Albion versus Luton Town. As it stands, Stoke are in the driving seat. They are on 50 points in 18th place. Then you've got Derby County in 19th on 49 points, Preston North End in 20th on 49 points. Luton Town sitting just above that dotted line in 21st place on 49 points. And then below that dotted line at the minute, you've got Hull on 48 points. I thought I'd go through a little bit of what the connotations are. Let's see what can happen over this crazy weekend, and there's bound to be many, many twists and turns, let's face it. As football fans, we all know that football is never, ever easy. This season in particular has not been easy. It has been ups and downs, swings and roundabouts, and the form guide has been quite unbelievable how it's turned on its head over the last month or so. Those guys at the bottom of the table, including Plymouth, a big shout out to Plymouth Argyle, of technically they're not mathematically out of it, but their goal difference is so inferior that there's almost no chance that they're going to be able to manage to stave off relegations. I'm going to start off with Stoke. So Stoke are playing against Derby. Obviously, Stoke as the team at the very, very top of that little miniature league in 18th place. They are on 50 points. And if they beat Derby, simple, they survive. If they draw against Derby, they remain above Derby and they survive. If they lose against Derby, there's a risk. But what does that risk look like? So if Preston North End win or draw, and Luton win and Hull win, Stoke can be relegated. That's a lot of ifs for Stoke. They will be sitting quite pretty, I think. And you've seen that reflection in the way that they've played in the last 2 games. Granted, one of them was against Leeds, title chasing Leeds. But the reality of it is that at 22-1 by the bookies' prices, that is steep. You know, and the reality of the situation, as I said a minute ago, is really quite difficult for them to go down. There's got to be a whole bunch of things happening at exactly the same time for Stoke to get relegated. So they will be feeling relatively safe. But below that, you've got their opponents. You've got Derby County. They're sitting in 19th place on 49 points. Their odds to go down are 20-1. And the reason for that is that if they beat Stoke, they survive. If they draw against Stoke, there is a risk. And if they lose against Stoke, obviously there's an even more heightened risk. But if Derby draw against Stoke, they will end up on 50 points. Their goal difference will stay as it currently is on -8. So if Preston draw, Derby will survive. If Luton draw, Derby will survive. And if Hull draw, obviously Derby will survive. They've got that buffer of 3 teams below them that can go down in their place. So truth be told, that makes me think that Stoke versus Derby might be one of the least entertaining games of all time, because the reality of it is if they both draw, they're looking pretty likely to be able to both stay up. But if Derby were to lose against Stoke, Preston, Luton and Hull all have to win. Derby would end up on 49 points with a goal difference of worse than -8, whatever the scoreline is. If Preston and Luton both win or draw and Hull win, Derby can be relegated. If Preston and Luton both win or draw and Hull draw, but Derby lose by 3 or more goals, Derby could technically go down on goal difference. So again, there's a number of different things there that have to play out for Derby to go down. And I don't think that that's going to happen. Now, I'm putting my neck on the line, but I think it's quite safe to put that particular neck on the line when it comes to Derby. So, yeah, reality of it is that if they go down, if they go down against Stoke in terms of a scoreline, a whole bunch of different things have got to happen for Derby to be relegated, including a big old goal swing as well in that loss. So then we move on to Preston. So Preston are currently sitting on 49 points, the same as Derby. They're on a goal difference of -11. The odds for Preston to go down significantly shorten in comparison to what they were for Derby County. So if they beat Bristol City, again, simple, they survive. They are currently above Hull and will not be able to be caught. They have an additional point, so the goal difference is irrelevant. If they draw against Bristol City, there's a risk. And if they obviously lose against Bristol City, there's a risk. Now, the thing for Preston, they're the first team that we've spoken about that have an opponent that isn't playing against each other, like Stoke and Derby are. They have a very, very difficult fixture, Preston, because they are playing against Bristol City, who currently sit in 5th, but can be caught and they can be surpassed by a couple of teams chasing the promotion spots in the playoffs. So when Leeds beat Bristol City last night, 4-0, that meant that Bristol City still had a hell of a lot to play for. And they'll have their last game at Ashton Gate, which is quite a fortress. And they'll be playing against Preston, who, whilst they'll be desperate as well, Preston's form out of all of the bottom 5 is the worst. They've only drawn once in the last 5 games and they've lost all their other games. So they are actively on a downward spiral. And truth be told, if the season went on another week or 2 more, than ending this week, they will be considering themselves bang in trouble. So let's look at that risk. So if Preston draw, they will end up on 50 points. They will be on a -11 goal difference, meaning that Luton and Hull must both win to relegate Preston. So a draw for Preston means that Luton and Hull must win to surpass them and relegate Preston. If Preston were to lose, they will end up on 49 points with a goal difference of worse than -11. If Luton were to draw or win, and Hull were to draw or win, then Preston would also be relegated by 1 goal, in fact, because Hull have a better goal difference and Luton would overturn them in terms of the amount of points that they've gained. So if Luton draw, they'll go up to 50 points, surpassing Preston if they're on 49 if they were to lose. And Hull would join them on 49 points if they were to draw and Preston to lose, but they have a better goal difference of just 1 goal. It is -10 versus -11. So there really is jeopardy for Preston, and it's purely because that it's just not enough to get a draw, knowing that Luton are in pretty good form and Hull will be absolutely scrapping for their lives. So it's a testy time for Preston. They're at 3-1 in terms of their odds to go down, which is something that is going to be really quite worrying for them. That if you noticed how that numbers come in from 22-1 to 20-1 to 3-1, so we're looking at a more likely, more feasible scenario from the bookies' perspective at the very least. We then move down to Luton Town. So Luton Town are currently in 21st place. They have crawled above the relegation zone for the first time since mid-January. But they sit on 49 points with a significantly worse goal difference than everyone else around them. Luton have had too many smashings over the course of the season, and their goal difference currently sits on -22. So from their perspective, they've got West Bromwich Albion. West Bromwich Albion are pretty close, if not bottom of the form table at the moment. And Luton Town have won 3 games in a row. So they are the form team out of everyone going into this particular set of fixtures. And they will want to hammer home the fact that they've done all that hard work to get themselves into that position and hope that West Brom are somewhat on the beach without their manager confirmed and just ready to go on their holidays, really. So if they beat West Brom, it's as simple as they survive. As I've said, with all the teams I've mentioned so far, they are in the driving seat. It is Hull that need a favour in regards to the other teams, and if they get 3 points. So if Luton draw against West Brom, there is a risk. They will finish on 50 points with a goal difference of -22, meaning that Hull must win to surpass Luton and overhaul their points total. So that would mean that Hull would end up on 51 points, surpassing Luton on 50. Luton would survive if they draw and either Preston or Derby lose, because they would surpass their 49-point total. If Preston and Derby draw or win and Luton draw plus Hull win, Luton are relegated. I'll say that again. If Preston and Derby draw or win, which means that they'll add to their points total of 50 or 52, Luton draw to go up to 50 points, but Hull win, Luton are relegated. The other risk is if Luton Town lose. So if Luton Town lose, they will end up on 49 points with a goal difference of worse than minus 22. If Hull draw or win, Luton are relegated. There's a real jeopardy for Luton Town. They really need to pick up some points from this particular set of fixtures, and they will count themselves lucky in a weird way that everything's in their hands. They will know exactly what's going on, and they will hope that their opponents, in a weird way, do them a favour. But as a Luton fan, we never do it the easy way, so expect some drama, late drama most likely. So Luton are 5-2 to go down. So again, those odds are coming down purely because of the place in the table, and that goal difference is tantamount to a point. So there really is serious jeopardy on this weekend for Luton Town, and despite the fact they've won 3 in a row, the hard work isn't over yet, and the Hatters will be hoping that they get it over the line. Then we go through to the team that are currently in the most precarious position, and that is Hull. So they are the ones that are currently occupying that final relegation spot, and they're on 48 points. So if they beat Portsmouth away from home, if Hull win and any of Luton, Preston, Derby or Stoke fail to win, including a draw between Derby and Stoke, they'll survive. There's a scenario whereby Hull, Luton and Preston could all win, meaning that the loser of the Derby versus Stoke game would go down. If that game was to end in a draw, Derby would be relegated. So if Hull lose against Portsmouth, just like the other teams, if they lose against Portsmouth, it's done. They're out of it. They'll be saying hello to League One. If they draw, they will end up on 49 points. They'll end up with a goal difference of minus 10. And if Luton lose, Hull will survive. If Preston lose, Hull survive. If Derby lose, they need to lose by more than 3, and Luton or Preston must draw or win for Derby to be relegated instead of Hull. What a mouthful. I'll be honest with you, you can probably see my eyes flitting over here. I've got all my notes over there, and there's no way I'm catching that all on by memory. But overall, the situation is very difficult for Hull, and they need favours from elsewhere. In terms of the actual games, there are things lying on all the games. Obviously, for those involved that I've mentioned, there's the serious jeopardy of what's going on in terms of their own fate. Preston, I would argue, despite the fact that they're in a better position right now through goal difference ahead of Luton Town, they are, I would argue, in an unenviable position of playing against a team that are in the playoff picture that have absolutely everything to play for. It is win or bust, I think, for Bristol City. And there's a scenario where a draw won't even be enough. So Bristol City are going to have to go absolutely hammer and tongue at Ashton Gate to beat Preston, which makes it really, really tough for Preston. Preston don't concede many goals. We've spoken about them a number of times on our Championship chat show. So if you're not already subscribing to the OK Football Show, we've just passed 2,000 subscribers. So thank you to everyone that listens on a weekly basis, and for those of you that are subscribing. But if you want more content from us, then drop us a follow, and you can have we speak about every team every week in our champ chat. The Derby versus Stoke game, like I said earlier on, I think that is probably quite likely to play out as a draw. But we'll see how it goes. The way that Derby have been playing, again, they're in good form. They've won 2 games in a row. John Eustace is very much businesslike in his interviews recently, saying that the job's not done yet. We must get it done. It's not worth all this hard work since he came in to crawl themselves pretty much off the bottom the whole time and not do it. So that will be an interesting one. And I think that Stoke, they've really taken their foot off the pedal since they got up to that 50-point mark, and we'll see how that one pans out. Pompey versus Hull. Now, Luton fans in particular will be hoping that Pompey do them a huge favour. Please, Pompey, do us a favour. It's a case of pray up Pompey rather than play up Pompey this week.
Please. Help.
For Luton Town fans, if Pompey were to be able to do the business against Hull, it would mean that the scoreline at the Hawthorns would be irrelevant. So all aboard the Pompey train for Luton Town fans this week. But from a Hull perspective, they will just be hoping that through some miracle they get an away win. Hull have found it really difficult to draw. Their top goal scorer is João Pedro. I think he's got 6 goals, followed by Joe Gelhardt, and he's only got 5. They really struggled to put it in the net. And the game a couple of games ago, they only managed to score 2 goals through the virtue of a couple of penalties. So they do find things difficult. But they will hope that, much like Luton hope West Brom are on the beach, that Portsmouth are also on the beach, having secured championship status rather brilliantly under the tutelage of John Mousinho. As for the West Brom game, as I mentioned a short while ago, West Brom are in terrible form. They're yet to hire a new manager following the sacking of Tony Mowbray, and the season has turned into a bit of a damp squib, really. Jed Wallace has been very, very angry about how their season's gone. It feels like it's a massive missed opportunity for West Brom, and they really have tailed off towards the end. So we will either see a very angry and fired up West Brom that want to prove a point before the summer to get the fans back on side, or we could see that they've just upped tools and left. But Luton Town, either way, will hope that they get 3 points and keep it in their hands. But that's all for me. Thank you so much for listening. If you've got this far, I hope that I made some sort of sense to everyone and tried to make that as simple as I possibly can. But it's a complicated situation, so like I say, those connotations are rather difficult to follow. But either way, 12:30 kickoff for absolutely everyone this Saturday. Wherever you're watching the game, if you're attending, stay safe. Be sensible, don't get too carried away, and if you're not at the games, enjoy spending time with your mates. Hopefully you can access the games through the pub. We will be down at the Bricklayers Arms for those of a Luton Town persuasion that want to join us at the Bricklayers Arms. We will be having a open mic for any supporters that want to talk about how the season's gone and how the game goes for Luton Town on Saturday. So until then, take care, everyone. Like I say, stay safe and enjoy the football, and best of luck to everyone. Take care. All the best.